Welcome back to the Stuff Wherever podcast. Your host, B. Quanchi here. Before we get started, I always like to say the best way to support me and the channel is to like, comment, and subscribe. Whether it be on YouTube, you can follow on Twitter to catch fun tweets and updates, as well as follow on Twitch to catch live streams, have fun with the chat, all that. Those gaming streams on Twitch do get uploaded on the YouTube channel as well. Other videos too. So be Quanchi all around. All those links are in the descriptions, either on the video, the Battle on channel, whatever. Be Quanchi on most social medias that I'm on. So we got a very special podcast today, and I wanted to start by talking a little bit about the Oscars and that infamous slap from Will Smith to Chris Rock, which everyone pretty much talked about. I'm not sure if the story's been beaten to death or dead yet, but there's so many memes and all that, and a little crazy, but yeah, pretty much Chris Rock made that G.I. Jane joke to Jada Pinkett Smith, who has alopecia and had her head shaved. Then Will Smith went up and slapped him, and it was funny because it's not like whooping his ass or anything like that. Like, I think Chris Rock handled it pretty well. I feel like a lot of people are saying Will Smith is in it wrong, and I'll say I lean towards that way as well, just because it was like kind of, I don't know, like uncalled for in a sense. Like, even if Jada was really hurt by the joke, I'm gonna say first off, I feel like the joke wasn't made maliciously. Like, I think like the one part of the story I haven't really heard too much discuss is if Chris Rock really knew about Jada's condition. I think the only thing is that he said he wasn't aware, and I'm not sure because I didn't even know. Like, I thought it would be awkward if like she had alopecia but hasn't been out about it. But I did a little looking online. I guess like 2 years ago or so, like she probably came out and talked about it and something that affects women of color or whatever. And I know they worked together on the Madagascar movie, but then that's voice acting and stuff like that. So I don't know how close friends like Chris Rock and the Smiths were, anything like that. And even if he did, maybe had a slip of the moment and then realize, oh crap, I'm making a joke about something that she might be very sensitive of. And it could be, a lot worse jokes, a lot more poor taste. And I think Will Smith would have just like said, "Hey, my wife has alopecia," whether they're shouting across the room or if he next time he got to the mic, like when he won the Oscar for Best Actor, like saying that, like I don't want to like use the phrase clap back, but if he would have like clapped back on the mic, and that would have like really made Chris Rock look bad. But instead, Chris Rock is making a lot of money because his tickets for his tour went up. They jumped up a lot and getting sold out. So he's looking good financially. I guess hearing things like also maybe it was staged or whatever. I'm not quite sure about that because I know the Oscars ratings have been dropping quite a bit over the recent years. I was surprised, like, I guess it did jump up this year. But even if they thought, like, if the Oscars, like, say don't do that, but hey, if crazy stuff happens, then that helps with the ratings. But even if, like, crazy stuff happens at the Oscar, it just gets plastered on the internet and spreads easily anyway. So I'm not sure how many people still care about live TV. Like, even if something crazy might happen at the Oscar, people might not just want to bother sitting down watching it about stuff they don't care about, and knowing that it's going to go on the internet, you're going to see footage of it and all that. So I'm not sure about that. There was also talks about Will Smith possibly needing to give up his Oscars, like code of conduct or something with Academy or something like that. But I haven't heard much further yet as of recording this little podcast. Also, I think it would be crazy, like, if Chris Rock, like, faked it a little bit, like when he got slapped, like, overreacted or exaggerated, like, fell to the ground and acted like he was unconscious. Or even press charges, because I think he's definitely taken a high road, like, even if he made a poor joke. How he responded to it so far, I think he's been doing a good job. Like, even at a moment, like, he could have, like, got really angry back or whatever. But I think he handled it pretty well. And even seeing stuff like with Will Smith, like people were talking about, like when he told a joke, Will Smith kind of was laughing at first and saw his wife's reaction, and then went on stage and all that. And also, people have been talking about bringing up the Will Smith Jada thing, like he's been cucked by her. Like, I guess she's been sleeping around, or isn't publicly known that he's been cucked. So maybe he has a little bit of anger about that. And even read like not read, but I heard some of it might have to do with Scientology. Like I think it's both of them, but especially Will Smith's Scientologist, and talked about like how they may like slap or yell to correct somebody. So I'm not sure if that had anything to do with it. And it's also funny, like people calling it assault and stuff like that. And I guess it technically is, but it kind of feels like blown out of water a little bit. But I clearly see that Will Smith is in the wrong. Not sure what's going to go on with his Oscar or not, because people are saying, well, Roman Polanski, I believe, like did some worse stuff with kids and stuff, and fled the country and stuff like that. So it's like if you're going to punish Will Smith for that, then whatever. But yeah, it just seems kind of crazy that it happened and all that. But yeah, like I said, I don't feel Chris Rock was being malicious or with that joke or like really putting someone down. So I mean, it's like here takes like it's kind of like mocking the handicap or anything like that or all that. So oh yeah, it just also reminds me the tweet from Judd Apatow. It could have been a really really good tweet because he was talking about like how celebrities need like I forget exactly what it said, like take on a chin, like hey be thick skinned or whatever. But in a tweet, he said that Will Smith could have killed Chris Rock. Like, no, that's not going to happen. Like, you have to think somebody's a psychopath for someone to kill somebody on stage, on live TV, at a broadcast event. And that's just a slap. Like, it's not like he's on the edge of a cliff or by a staircase or something. Like, if a grown man gets slapped by another man, he's not going to die. That's not going to happen. So I think that could have been a really good tweet if it wasn't, for that dumb comic, because I think that's where it got really mocked at about, being killed by slap, whatever. I think that's why he deleted the tweet and all that. It also comes to the point, like, I don't want to say like being too PC or too sensitive or whatever, but like it's also like you can argue like, hey, now you can't make any fat jokes because if you make a joke about a person's weight, they might have a condition like something with the thyroid or other things going on, like, hey, they have a condition, so if you call them overweight, you're mocking the disabled, something like that. So I don't think, Chris Rock was putting down women who suffer from alopecia. And from what I hear, I believe it's like an autoimmune disease that Jada has that symptom of alopecia. But my point is, I don't feel like he intentionally, went out for her condition to make a cheap joke. So probably could have done without it, but definitely kind of overreaction and kind of crazy how it unfolded. But Chris Rock is making a lot of money out of it with his ticket sales and all that. So there's that. And one thing I wanted to talk about this podcast is that I believe I got my first hate comment on one of my videos. I know hate's kind of a strong word anyways, and a little background, I felt this is my personal YouTube account in the sense that I used to follow a channel and subscribe and all that to like view YouTube content. So the account creation is a lot older than I would say the channel, because I say like actively making content for YouTube again has been less than a year, I believe last May. Because even before that, I did some stupid videos I feel like uploading, but did like loot crate unboxings and other things, trying to try hard to be like a YouTuber. All that been pretty much removed unless some crazy person downloaded all my videos that barely got any views. I think they're lost in the void now. And I don't recall getting much comments anyways. And probably the most comments I get on my videos are probably like the Undertale one. I did just pretty much about the game, like a guide to do the genocide run or beating San. So I don't think really warranted any like criticism or anything like that. But going to the hate comment, a while back, it's when that show cartoon Fairview premiered. I think it's been a month now or longer. But yeah, I just felt like doing a little video because I think just after the first episode, like it was really bad. Like you can find a video on my channel, but it was just a really bad show, and me kind of like doing a small snippet blurb, like talking about how bad it is, like the animation, the production, the voice acting, the content, the writing, all that's pretty bad. The hate comment was something like saying, "Oh, the only thing that's more annoying than Fairview is this commentator's voice." And for a second there, I had like a dumb moment, like, because for some reason I was thinking like narrator, like, was there a narrator on the show? And oh, that comment is based on me and whatever. And I'm like, oh, And not that I'm like hurt by it or like anything like that. It's just some dumb person on the internet. Although saying I'm more annoying than that shit show of a cartoon Fairview, that could be like one of the worst insults I had in my life, just because that's as bad as a cartoon show. But it also kind of made me think a bit. Like I noticed, like I think when I made that video, it was kind of like off the cuff. And a lot of my stuff is like kind of off the cuff. Like when especially when I'm streaming, when I'm doing these podcasts, like sometimes I get ideas of what I want to talk about and all that. But I don't really have like a game plan. Like, oh, I'm going to talk about this. I'm not going to rehearse or anything like that. I think a lot of people don't, unless they're making like a video essay and stuff like that. But still, it's pretty much just them talking. I kind of realize, like, I think like with the podcast or stuff, I have this bad habit of like consciously talking to a microphone. I think that kind of throws off my voice a little bit. That maybe it sounds kind of really annoying, but kind of like that I'm not being quite authentic in a sense. Like I worked jobs in call centers before, and you kind of like, oh god, I gotta see that one movie. I forget what it's called. But it's like the call center, and they talk about having the voice. It's like I know how to mostly black cast. So I gotta look up that movie because it's fun. Like when you talk on the phone, you talk a certain way and stuff like that. And I feel like there's some of my podcasts or videos and stuff like that. I kind of have that voice like, hey, I'm like too consciously thinking about, hey, I'm talking to a microphone that's being recorded for content I plan on uploading. So I think sometimes my voice doesn't quite sound like myself. So I think maybe the past couple of streams and this podcast, like it sounds a little bit more me, and I probably don't have the most beautiful voice out there. I talked to old videos, but they have been taken down, but because I took them down. I have had issues with speech and had speech therapy, so a lot of my childhood and all that. And it's kind of funny just kind of thinking about that. Just kind of like this little comment triggered, like, go a stroll down memory lane. Because honestly, I am honestly insecure about my voice and how I talk and stuff like that. So sometimes I've been kind of quiet as a kid because of it, because I don't want to sound like I'm stupid or anything like that. I had trouble like with certain letters and all that. And I went to speech therapy like at school, but looking back, it wasn't really much. It's just kind of like repeating words and stuff like that. Maybe playing board games and all that kind of like repetition. Like I remember when the movie The King's Speech came out. I really loved that movie because it feels like it's a lot more like that's what speech therapy should be and all that. Because I even remember like I don't think it was the beginning of speech therapy, but I think eventually like it kind of combines the kids in speech therapy with like special needs or people with like learning struggles, or I would say special needs for lack of a better word. It was just like maybe one period like a week or 2 periods a week, I forget, but just kind of like also like being in a group with other kids that struggle to learn things. I don't think they had like any like talent shows or anything like that, but just kind of like kids that really struggle to learn. And I remember one time like a kid say like, "Well, that guy's really smart" or something like that, and all that. So this kind of like weird, like, oh my god, I did get pulled out of class to hang out with special needs kids. I remember like eventually, I think I did mostly did it up into high school, because I think in middle school I still did it, but I'm kind of like forgetting how long I did the speech therapy, because I thought I remember getting like pretty sure I remember getting out of like PE and middle school, but I think like maybe in high school, if it was that, to the point like, okay, this is kind of a like, not to say that it's a waste of time, but it's like, this is no longer, really needed, or I talk good enough. And I think growing up in, like, not everyone's a perfect speaker all the time. Like sometimes people like slur and stuff like that, or stutter. I think that's also bad when I kind of stammer a lot too. But just kind of grew out of it. But it's just kind of funny, like, just thinking that comment, like, yeah, I think my voice is kind of annoying and all that. But maybe like just speaking this microphone, practice makes perfect. But I think maybe the past times I've been recording, whether it's on stream or a podcast, a mini cast just by myself, a solo cast, I feel like I'm kind of making the effort, like, just talk like I normally do, versus like, hey, welcome to my channel, welcome to the podcast. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what like sounds like. It's like one of those weird things where you have like a dumb thought, like, what do I sound like? What do I generally sound like when I'm being recorded? So maybe that might change things, but then again, I don't get too much comments or feedback. Unless you're listening now and you can give me a little love in the comments or whatever. But also, not quite of a hate comment, but also kind of a funny thing on Twitter. Because like replied to somebody and someone like replied to me, but then like the end reply like, also by the way, what's wrong with you? You have over 4,000 tweets and literally no likes or comments. And I thought that was funny because I decided to look into it as well because I do have likes and comments. Like I admit I'm not the most popular girl on Twitter, so I have very limited interactions and stuff like that. Sometimes I have a tweet that have more like likes or whatever because sometimes I try to be funny, keyword try, and all that. But a lot of times, like when I'm posting like gaming stuff, like when I stream, I feel like there's bots that just like the tweets or retweet them. So there is like some activity. I'm not even sure if I have 4,000 tweets because I was trying to look that up, and I'm not sure how you can easily tell how much total tweets you have. I feel like I don't tweet that much. So I'm like, look at this guy who replied to me on Twitter, like, that's wrong, that wrong, or whatever. And then the funniest thing, because I actually like checked out their Twitter account. I think they've been on Twitter for over 5 years, maybe 7 years. I forget. But their Twitter page, they have no original tweets. Like all their Twitter activity has been replying, like not even retweeting anything. All the Twitter activity has been replying to other tweets. And guess what? They have like, I don't want to say literally, but they have fewer interactions than I do. Like almost no likes, almost no comments and stuff like that. So it's like, hey, if you're saying these are my numbers are like, what's wrong with you? Then your numbers are worse. So what's wrong with you? I didn't say anything, and also with the comment on the video for Fair View that I did, I didn't reply. Sometimes I feel like, I don't know, like, and I don't want to be like, oh, this is how you respond to haters, but sometimes I want to feel like, not really gaslighting, kind of like play around and stuff like that, like, not just be hateful, spiteful. Like, I could have said some stuff to the guy who replied to my tweet, but sometimes I feel like, saying nothing is good at all. It's that thing, like, sometimes you just want to get like a, I hate saying this phrase, but clap back and stuff like that. Like, oh yeah? But yeah. Just thought it was pretty funny and all that. And I don't know, maybe this is like good advice too, like going back. If anyone's like recording or trying to do stuff online, content creating and all that, like either like video essays, podcasting, streaming, stuff like that. I think getting that mind frame, like, hey, am I being myself when I talk? Like, am I focusing too much on a microphone? Am I focused too much on being recorded? And I don't know, so that might change just how I talk in the future of this podcast and stuff like that. And I feel like a lot of times, like these podcasts are usually like 30 minutes. Plus a little extra. I feel like eventually I get into that zone where I'm just like talking like I usually do. But I feel like mostly like the intros, the outros, and stuff like that. Maybe it gets a little bit more like playing up to being recorded and all that, for lack of a better word. And one thing I wanted to talk about on the podcast is neo-Nazis, and I don't get it. Like, this is one of the things I would kind of want to talk about, but I don't want to like put in the subject of a YouTube video or clearly in the description, because I feel like those are some keywords that get a little flagged. I even hear like Germany gets really big on that when it comes to content versus or regarding Nazis or Hitler and stuff like that. They may like even block that content in the countries and stuff like that. But the short answer is like the reason that the neo-Nazis out there is because there's dumb, stupid, angry, racist people. But I don't know why they hold on to the name neo-Nazi. Like, I feel like Nazi is like the collectively, like everyone knows that, hey, they were the enemies in World War II. They suck and we all hate them and stuff like that. Like all the Call of Duty video games, the other movies about World War II, it's like, yeah, collectively we all supposed to hate Nazis. Like they really suck. But also I think the funny thing is like, why go with neo-Nazis? Like obviously you don't want to carry the Nazi's name because you call it neo in front of it, but why call yourself something different? You know, in other words, ideally don't exist at all in terms of your group and being racist and hateful and stuff like that. But like, drop Nazi at something else. Like, not that I'm trying to like be giving advice, marketing advice, whatever you want to call it, for hate groups, but it feels like, oh no, we're not Nazis. Those guys suck. We're neo Nazis. And I don't really hear too much about them. Like, I don't really dive. I don't want to like put those kind of searches into my Google. It feels like I always hear that like in TV shows or cartoons. Like, maybe simple. Like, there was an episode of Family Guy about it. But like, why in America too? Like, Americans, we kicked the Nazis' ass. So why would, as American, you would want to be a group associated with the Nazi name, anything like that? So just my stupid thinking, like, why does that exist? Like, I don't know. This is pretty much everyone hates Nazis. I think a lot of people, well, not everyone. I'm sure there were people out there. I'm also sure if any of the original Nazis are still alive, because sometimes you see these articles like last World War II, whatever, either like Holocaust survivor or whatever. But yeah, just kind of crazy, and that is kind of poking fun of like thinking why any group would, regardless of what their values are, like why hang on to the name Nazi? Like, and even if you do, just like kind of change it up so it's not like we're not the original Nazis, we're neo-Nazis, so we're not that bad. Those Nazis were assholes. So I don't know, it's just some stupid stuff that was on the top of my head that trying to get out of my brain. Okay, and then I wanted to end this podcast bringing back the whatever report. So I've been do this on and off. Just look up some funny stories or crazy stories, like not always good, not always bad, not always silly, but not always terrible or tragic, but just interesting stuff. So I just kind of looked them up. And if there's ever like a desire for me to post links to this, I just haven't made too much effort because I feel like I don't have much of an audience or demand. But the first story for the whatever report happened in Pennsylvania. Basically, a dad was supposed to pick up the kids from a babysitter back in 2003, and they found his body. So really crazy because what? That was almost 20 years ago. But they said that they found the car matching like the missing report or whatever, because it was a cold case, but found a vehicle submerged in Darby Creek. So yeah, so I think that March 20th is when they recovered the vehicle and the body. But that's just crazy. Like, I'm not sure what happened. But there's probably other links in the article that kind of like talks more about it. But I'm not sure like if there was a mother, but it was two daughters that said that eventually he overslept and was rushing to pick up his daughters, and they never showed up. I guess he like crashed his vehicle and was submerged into a lake. And I think at least the positive out of the story, it is terrible, that it happened in the first place, that they kind of have that closure. Okay, this is what happened to their dad. Like, he didn't like go missing or go off the grid or went away from his family and all that. I think it would have been found if he was still alive, but it kind of just gives that closure of like, okay, this is what happened with him. Even though that's horrible that it happened, that he unfortunately passed when crashing into a lake, trying to pick up his kids almost 20 years ago. But yeah, that's just kind of crazy. I wonder how often this happens. Like, there's probably documentaries and stuff like that, like how many cold cases out there, like for missing persons, and eventually find them, because I'm sure a lot of them, like, they don't find them, like something might happen to the body or stuff like that. But sad, but hopefully they can move past that, just knowing, more so what happened with their dad. Okay, and then this story is more on the crazy side, that a Texas man was arrested after allegedly storing his son's dead body in the kitchen since 2018, so that's 4 years. Yeah, it shows his mugshot too, and he looks like a person who would keep a corpse, but being charged for abuse of a corpse. I guess neighbors contacted police, requesting a welfare check on the guy, and when officers came in, he asked him if they knew whether here. He just kind of oh, is it because of the body in the kitchen kind of thing. I don't see much details, like how old was the son. why he passed away. That's even crazy. Like if he like died in the hospital or died of some medical stuff, like how the father gets the body in. Might just be the fat dad because they don't see any mention of his wife or the mother or the son. And the story doesn't have too much information. That they just do an autopsy on a body, like to determine if it was his son. Okay, I don't know what would possess a person to keep a corpse and all that. It just seems disgusting, and I don't know, maybe a lot of mental stuff is going on with dealing with grief and all that, but just pretty crazy that this story exists in Texas. If it was in Florida, it would be expected, but it's happened in Texas. And next story, this is kind of more interesting, is that they made a 2-carat diamond made by Hidden Valley Ranch. And I'm not sure how they did this exactly, but it said they took the seasoning, so the seasoning for the Hidden Valley Ranch, heated it to 2,500 degrees, crushed it under 400 tons of pressure. All that. But it's being for an auction, and it's going to be raise money to Feeding America. So that's kind of cool that it's going towards a charity. So hopefully this is authentic. The picture, what it shows in the article, it looks neat. It's like a nice little diamond ring. Like, it doesn't look like too fancy, but kind of neat. I wonder if it's just a seasoning or if they had to add anything to it to create a diamond. I'm not quite sure, but it looks. It said they was set in a 14K white gold band. It has the letters engraved HVR LVR as an Hidden Valley Ranch lover. I guess like I'm looking through the article as well, but it said like someone used a custom Valentine's Day bottles to propose for marriage and stuff like that. Like that inspired them to look into this. And on the article, I'm not sure if the bid. Let me check that real quick because it said it was $1,825. Holy crap! The winning bid was $12,550. If that's true, because I'm looking at eBay, and that's crazy. Like going back to the article, it was at the point as of March 17th. It was 1,825. So wow, it jumped a lot. And just something that's for charity, that's pretty cool too, as well. They're not sure about the science of it, like what can cause a anything to become a diamond. Because I think I hear that with like using people's ashes and stuff like that, like remains, like into jewelry and stuff like that, which sounds kind of weird too. But that's pretty cool that it got that much money that's going to go to charity. So first I thought it was just some dumb story, but I didn't catch the part about raising funds for charity and all that. So really crazy and all that. But yeah, that's that story. And then the last story is regarding a Filipino salon owner that uses hair to create portraits. And this is pretty cool. I'm just like looking at the video and all that. It's kind of a unique technique or whatever, but it kind of reminds me of that toy, with a guy and he has like use a little magnet to make a beard, or you can draw like eyebrows or hair. It kind of reminds me like without like fuzzy or whatever, but kind of reminds me of that classic toy. But I guess it uses like hair, sticky resins, and a brush and all that. So it looks like kind of like very nice black and white portraits and all that. So it's pretty cool. I was looking, and I'm not sure where this takes place because it said the salon owner's Filipino. So I'm not sure if that takes place in the Philippines or what. It said Manila. So okay, yeah. So overseas, but that was a kind of interesting story. And yeah, that'll do it for the Whatever report. So if you kind of like it, I can always post links in the video. Even if I get tempted of like making my own videos of just weird news, just to mix things up on the channel. But let's kind of wrap things up. Also, even though no one's really listening, I actually made a Reddit. I'm not sure how soon I'm gonna like advertise that and stuff like that. I did put it on the banner, at least on the YouTube page, but it's the r/stuff or whatever. And just to see if that would ever build a community and stuff like that, if it would be more to this whole thing. Because, like I said in the past, I would like to have like more interactions or more engagements and stuff like that. Whether it be like responding to like, "Hey, in this dumb hypothetical, what would you do?" Or, "Hey, what would be your advice? I'm going through this." Or, "Hey, what's your opinion on this that happened in the news or in the world?" or stuff like that. So I feel like I'm just gonna get to the point that I just like have nothing to say, but whatever. So and the best way to support me is to like, comment, and subscribe. I do stream gaming twice a week. Those VODs do get uploaded to YouTube, so definitely check them out. I think I'm doing more like indie games or stuff like that, but just kind of having fun, just doing whatever. So, anyways, I'll say this will be a podcast for this week. Yeah, I feel like my outro, like I was saying with my voice, sometimes I get into that mode, like, okay, this is my outro voice or whatever. So yeah, I hope everyone has a good week, and I'll catch y'all next time. Later.